How's everybody doing tonight? Whoa, that's a roaring feedback. Good energy. How about one more time for the man of the hour, Mr. Ben Folds?
It just occurred to me, these stories of Michael Jackson. He would do like 3 hours of working out and singing and being like, by the time he hit the stage, he was sweating. That's the way we've been talking before we came out.
Yeah.
We were just going at it.
Totally.
Now we're all ready to talk.
Yeah, I was like, some of these questions, I should wait until we're on stage, so we don't waste all the juju. Well, you've made this beautiful album. How many of you here have heard this album that he just released on the 4th of July, I believe?
4th of July.
So beautiful. It's really, really beautiful, man.
Thanks, man.
I think my first question, and I'm sure some of us all in the room are wondering, just process-wise, you have this really beautiful capacity, in my observation and opinion and feeling, to sort of like take really heavy and existential subject matter and boil it down to, like, kind of bring it down to earth, using like this with all these elements of humor and wit, but with arrangements that are really dancing and weaving and are taking you on a journey. And I'm curious, when you're doing that for an album like this, with like the National Symphony Orchestra, how much of your process in approaching making an album like this are you arranging in the songwriting process versus let me get to the core of the story I'm trying to tell and then fleshing it out in arrangement?
Well, I mean, I think songs are melody and lyrics.
Yeah.
Everything else is negotiable. The chords are negotiable, the arrangement's negotiable, yeah. But it's about the timing of when we learn a thing. Mm-hmm. So my view of songwriting has always been it's just playing with time. It's just screwing with time. If you've got a song that is 3.5 minutes long and it's about an observation that took you 2 seconds to make, but it speaks of a lifetime, you've really messed with time. And the only reason that songs work so well for people, I think, is because we're so time naive. We're so time dumb. We're willing to believe those things. So I think about when I was first starting to write songs, one of the things that stuck with me was the feeling of being when you're a little kid and someone's on a seesaw and they keep coming up and they're happy, and then you think, oh, they're happy, and all of a sudden at the weirdest time they come up and they got a bloody nose. And it's like, oh my God. And that's to try to achieve that in a really small way in songs that are going to repeat, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus out. Or, sorry, guitar solo, bridge, chorus out.
or bass solo.
Bass solo, drums, whatever we got. The art of it becomes all about timing. So
yeah, wow.
So once that's been done, and sort of when I'm writing a song, it's a matter of like, it's pretty typical stuff for me. I'm like, well, it's the second chorus, so why? Well, why are we even here? And everyone knows that we're going to be here, so maybe I should cut out 2 beats. Because the only way I'm going to surprise someone is to do something like cutting out 2 beats or making it mean something. If you're going left, right, and you're the only guy in the marching band that goes right, left, then that's going to surprise people. It throws things off, right?
I love that. That really translates in your writing. Like I always, and when he's talking about like time signature, right? Like when you're like. I love like this idea that when by the time, for example, like you say, you get to verse 2 and you're plugging back into like, what am I talking about? What's the why? And do I need these all 4 beats in this measure, or let's just get to it? So and then that translates to a musical arrangement that's really unique.
Something I learned from improvising so many songs, because in about 2002, some of you will probably know this. Some guy yelled out, "Rock this bitch!" Right? And I was making a live record. It was a live solo piano record, and so this bastard has immortalized himself on my CD. And I was like, oh well, I don't know. I mean, what he meant was "rock this bitch." He meant like you should play something faster or louder because you're boring me. But I was like, oh, I don't know that. I think maybe I know that song. So I freestyle a song.
Oh, wow.
And then everyone expected that I was going to do that every single night, which I did for my sound man has probably over 1,000 recordings of songs that I made up on stage.
No way.
What I learned from doing that about songwriting has been really interesting for me too. And when I've had the opportunity to have some students and teach some songwriting, we go through that a little bit, and I have them do it some. Because as it turns out, form is super important to me, but mostly so that I can find a way to break the expectations of it, because that's part of why it's there, is that when you improvise a song every night, you start to realize, wait a minute, I'm on a second verse. Wait a minute, there's a chorus again. Then it's like, God, I'm getting bored of this. I might need something else. Oh, I've got a bridge. It actually happens on the time that makes you interested. You have something to like where are you? And so in your first verse, and you're trying to establish with an audience who knows where you are, where are we? And then, well, how can I sum that up so that we can all get on the same page and you've got your chorus? The interesting thing about a second verse is what I learned is that the second verses of almost all my Rock This Bitches, RTBs, are my impression of the first verse, because I can't remember it because I just did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that,
totally.
When you're writing a song next time, try making the second verse almost like it's hit its head and doesn't remember the first verse. It makes such a big difference, because then what you're doing is you're communicating something else, insisting or adding to what you're doing, rather than just filling in the blanks and going, well, that was iambic pentameter, so this is going to be two.
Right.
It makes a really big difference.
Wow.
But all that to circle around to your back to your question about it, the song is always going to be its own thing. Like, I see people doing these incredible covers of songs where they take the reason that I liked the song out, and then they just sing it really soft and baby voice. And and it's like, I'm kind of a stickler about that. I like the melody. I like the melody like it was. I like the timing like it was. I'm not interested in changing that. I don't get bored with that live. I can't see how you be on stage and decide you're gonna I don't like da 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 da. I'm gonna change that. You don't change Beethoven, and you should write a melody that you don't change because it should hold together. So when you're playing with an orchestra, then the orchestration is now negotiable. And so what I always tell orchestrators that I worked with for the longest time, when I would bring them into the Kennedy Center especially, I've got maybe 30 orchestrators that have done my music that I tour with. That's a lot of music that we tour with. And they're from all over the world. I've tried all different flavors and sizes and colors of things just to try it out. The first thing two things I tell them. One is, please do something that would normally get you fired.
Oh.
Because they're thrilled to do that, because they've been put in a box most of the time and they're afraid of them. So, no, seriously, the thing that you think is going to get you fired, do it somewhere for me.
Wow.
And if they haven't done it, you know it. And you go back to them and say, you're still not fired yet. And you just take it, go too far. And the other thing is imagine your singer and your song on stage with no orchestra and no band and no nothing, and have them sing it in your head a cappella. Do you hear anything else? Because if you don't, I'll pay for nothing too. If it's nothing, then please do nothing. And it doesn't mean that I want it minimal. What it means is that the song is the boss, and if there's something that needs to be there, and you might be like, I wanna hold your hand. Da, 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 da. Okay, that's all I need. Okay, that's great. So then you imagine them singing the song. They've got a da 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 after, and it's like, oh, now that needs supporting. Because I thought that was a major chord, but actually I'm going to sub something underneath it, because that takes the floor out from underneath it. Now we have a different view of the world, and that's the way that we have them work. Until sometimes I will score something like 50% there,
Wow.
I'll put it about 50% there. A couple times it's ended up being 100, where the arranger that I would have to help me would just say, I don't have anything I want to do to this anymore. I think you should just do it.
Yeah.
And they'll copy it correctly.
Wow.
But in general, if I'm going to bring something to it, I just fill in the gaps that I would like to hear, and I put it in now like the kids do on the computer, and I give them the Sibelius thing.
Yeah,
So they've
yeah.
got they've got everything laid out, and
Yeah.
now they can like now make it work.
Yeah, now they can expand it, and wow. Oh, that's really good. So we're really hearing on this album, like, not just your performance and delivery and beautiful songwriting, but also like the neuroticism of your musical genius. Is what you're telling us.
And a lot of other really great arrangers and artists I've worked with who, like, back in the day, like a great arranger like
Yeah.
like I don't know, Quincy Jones spent
Oof.
like maybe 2 or 3 decades in Europe just shaking it out of his sleeve. So he was doing
Yeah.
so many arrangements.
Yeah.
And now in this era there aren't as many people who rely on that for their living. You
Yeah.
can do it other ways, but there are some.
Yeah, there's a few guys.
And luckily I know some of those guys and have been, like we talked about Rob Moose.
Exactly.
Like Rob has now done so many arrangements on so many people's records. You
Yeah.
just do a Rob Moose Appreciation Day.
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
whatever the biggest records or the most hip records, the most meaningful records of the last decade, if his name's not on it, then they just forgot to put it on there. He's done
pretty much.
everything.
Pretty much.
And to shake those things, like if you've ever read the Henry Mancini book on arrangements?
No.
Oh, you have to. It's
Oh.
so working class. It's like when you do your lead sheet to put it in this order, But it's great because it just shows you like the awesome bones of a working class arrangement.
Oh, wow.
Like the
Yeah.
stuff that you had to do every single
Yeah.
night. It's like there's an art
Yeah.
to it, but there's also like this has to have protocol, and we've got to do it.
Yep.
Like that's a lot of music, especially. I mean, I could interview you about what the hell you guys were doing during the pandemic to get that stuff. You and John to get that stuff like out every day. That's insane.
That would be its
You
own.
could write your own book.
I was going to say that would be its own book.
Yeah. But again, on that one question that we've been pontificating on, we were saying backstage, like, there's a reason people don't pay to like see 2 musicians sit around and talk. It's going to become insider baseball real quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so look, the song is the song. It's not the melody and the words are not negotiable.
Yeah.
But everything that is a song does not deserve or need to be played by symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean
Well,
it's
I love
less.
that you say, like, I'll pay for nothing, too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like creatively that's so important when you're giving criteria to someone whose job it is to fill this out and, like,
Yeah.
make it special. Sometimes special is
Space.
less or space, yeah.
Yeah, and it's certainly worth it. It's kind of like the guy who comes in to fix something. He turns one screw, and they don't want to pay him. It's like, well, he knew which screw to turn.
Yeah.
If they just want to put a bass flute up under my voice for the chorus, you get paid.
Yeah.
Like that's an arrangement. That's an idea. The amateurs come in and do what we call tutti.
Yeah.
All over the orchestra. They use the orchestra. The first kind of phase that you go through when you're working with an orchestra for the first time, especially if you're a pop musician or a jazz musician, if you're used to rhythm, is you put way too much in the percussion.
Yeah.
So you got to get through that. Everyone does it,
Yeah.
and you just got to go. Okay, it sounds like a fucking marching band.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the energy is not born in the percussion anyway in an orchestra. The
Yeah.
orchestra, the percussion is just punctuation.
Yeah.
And I just discovered you're a percussionist.
Also a tuba player. So
And also tuba player. Holy shit.
Which we were, in my time playing in orchestras and tuba, we really sort of carried and would dictate more the rhythm than the percussion, to your point.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Almost anything. Well, most of the best timekeepers on stage are not in the percussion section.
Yeah.
They're just there to kind of punctuate things. So when you start to do that first, then the next mistake is you still keep writing everything, like everything, and then you figure out how to do crazy hockets that work on the computer that don't work in real life.
Yeah.
like rhythmic, Hackett, like two rhythmic things that need to be with each other in order to kind of make a rhythm. They'll put those, like an amateur will put, half of it over here in the first strings, and the other half somewhere across the stage in French horns or something. And it doesn't work because they can't hear each other.
Yeah.
Like you've got 70, 80 people on stage, and they all don't hear each other.
Yeah.
So there's a real art to it.
Truly, truly. I'm curious, like, just to zoom out for a second, if I may.
Probably.
How long did you spend working on this album?
Well, that was, the real answer is I started playing with orchestras with my music around 2004. And did a lot of stuff and failed a lot and kept working at it. And so what you're hearing now is the result of all that, plus my time with the National Symphony Orchestra, the Kennedy Center, bringing other artists in and holding them to a standard that was higher than what I'd been holding for myself. And I started realizing I need to really go back into my stuff and do the things that I'm forcing on all my artists. Because when you're curating the stuff and you're standing back from it, you get to hear, all the artists trying, we're trying all these things. And I didn't get that chance for me because I'm always on stage, and you have just about 5 minutes to rehearse with the orchestra anyway. So really it took 20 years of experimentation and to kind of get it back into a place that's real relaxed, so that the orchestra is feeling at home with the pop musician, and the pop musician is at home with the orchestra, and we're there to make one thing.
Yeah.
Often the orchestra is there to be a prop, and they're there to make an artist look important. And I've spent, definitely the last decade, maybe a half, trying to advocate for orchestras to be a big part of, they should have proverbial skin in the game. I mean, they're on stage, they're real musicians. They clock in and they get jaded, but they need to be challenged, and they need to be respected.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you really do a beautiful, you and the arranger and the conductor. Who's conducting?
Steve Reinecke conducted that one because he's the resident pops conductor at the NSO.
Amazing. Yeah, I feel like you guys did a really good job of finding that, capturing that relationship. It does feel like, oh, this guy has been doing this for 20 years. We were talking a little backstage about like sort of how the balancing act and the sort of surf that's required to just rhythmically perform as a singer-songwriter with an orchestra, the way that they move, like you're playing, like who dictates the time, and it's very fluid, and it's a lot of
oil barge.
Yeah.
Is it? How many musicians? Or do we have music? How many of you play in orchestras or with orchestras in any way? Yeah, I'd love to just ask you questions too. Cause
yeah.
But the orchestra is, even for a quote classical musician, the orchestra is definitely not the only home for them. A lot of people choose not to go, into the orchestra. And if you do, it's sort of a way of life. And I think, I read somewhere that orchestral musicians rank very low often in job satisfaction, because they're not always respected at work. And I started to really feel that early on when I was playing with orchestras, and at first it felt adversarial. I showed up in the orchestra, felt like I was definitely the odd man out, and I wasn't expected to be very good at what I did.
Yep.
And so of course I got a chip on my shoulder about it immediately. For the first 2 or 3 years after I felt like I was getting bullied.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would come into the rehearsal and I would wait for listening to one single musician to not be that good. And then I would say to the conductor so they could hear me, could you make sure you get the second violin section? Because that fucking guy over there, and it's just to try to get some respect. And then I realized the opposite had to be true. I had to respect their musicianship and ask more out of them. And it took a moment, because you come in, I'm busy, I'm tired. Yeah. I sold the tickets. Fuck you. Yeah. And I'm getting treated like an asshole. But But then I started to really realize and feel it from their point of view.
Yeah.
And one night I was playing in Atlanta. They got a great symphony orchestra in Atlanta. And we were in rehearsal, and they were all bitching about their monitors. I was like, oh, a bunch of petulant children bitching about their monitors. I'm so sick of this. So I went over to my monitor guy, who's the guy who always comes with me to these things. I was like, Michael, you know what? Cut them all off. See how they like that? Turn all their shit off. I'm tired of hearing it. And he cut them off, and we went in the second half of rehearsal, and it was amazing.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I've come in here with my rock and roll ways and brought these monitors.
Yeah.
And it's fucking everything up.
Yeah.
But they're used to using the monitors too, because when it's called a pops concert, often because of the nature of the arrangements, they require them to polish the turd that is the arrangement. And if you come in with a great score,
Yeah.
great arrangement, if there's a problem, it's them.
Right.
Or if it's a not that great arrangement and there's a problem, it may be you've walked in with an arrangement that's not playable. You know, something, because I've got arrangements that every single time there's something that the intonation is off. Every single time. Same part, same song, doesn't matter how good the orchestra is, the intonation's off. I'm like, okay, well, we're doing something wrong here. We've got bowing in a wrong way,
Yeah.
or we've got a chord that really doesn't balance that way.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. I
Yeah.
can't go in there and dictate that. So you start to really respect the orchestra and realize that they have a day ahead of them, and that day can be like shitty. They
Yeah.
can come in and have to play. I've heard so many horror stories now. So the reason I was at the Kennedy Center doing that was to take the best artists that I could find at the time and give them an experience in the orchestra without the rock band. No
Yeah.
band, no electric instruments or
Yeah.
anything. The orchestra has to do it. We got extra rehearsal time for it and brought in arrangers. So that if the arranger was from Australia, we flew him in.
Wow.
And he would stay there for 2 days with us, and we go up to the Watergate Hotel and sit and go, okay, we're playing Shostakovich on this show, and we're playing Spector on this show.
Whoa.
So we've got Regina Spektor and we've got Shostakovich on the same show, right?
Whoa.
And why does Shosta's fucking score sound great and ours suck? You know, why is that? Because we're going to get to the bottom of it before we play the show.
Wow.
And we did. You know, so the thing is, like, I just was thinking, I know there, you know, this is amazing dead Russians everywhere. But like, why does the dead German have to be great and I suck? Like, why? And it doesn't have to be that way. They were
Yeah.
just people.
Yeah.
And they were masters of their craft.
Yes.
And you can be too. You can walk out of the hotel room with the arranger and the conductor and know that the next day you're going to show up and it's going to sound that good. Because you just look at it, you go, like, okay, well, here's the thing. It's like he's creating pockets between this and this you can hear where one is, and that's just a major chord. He didn't do anything there. That's amazing. Okay. And you get to the bottom of it and you make yours like that instead of trying to make it so clever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But that's what we were doing there. And the orchestra, for the most part, seemed to really enjoy doing those shows.
Yeah.
You know, which is saying a lot. For the most part,
That's
the
saying a
orchestra
lot.
was enjoying doing those. That's that's bold stuff to say. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's a big group, you know.
I mean, it is the thing that stands out to me as you're describing this dynamic. Is that it is in fact relationships.
Yeah. With people on
with
stage,
with
they're not
human
props,
beings. I wonder how important was it for you to do this album with these human beings, like with this arranger, with this orchestra in this room?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wanted to. First of all, when I started over the NSO, one of my first things was I noticed that they didn't have. It's our National Symphony Orchestra. They didn't have many records to their name.
Oh wow.
And it should represent the country, and they should lead on stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like we got to get records out. But in the orchestra world, they're so expensive, and it's really difficult to do. And so I wanted to get Gabby Moreno. I wanted her to do a record that way. Denai Suarez, I thought would be a great person to do a record that way. People that we haven't heard of as much that I had there, that if this was their breaking record with the NSO was their defining one, then that lifts the orchestra and the artist as well. But it cost too much, and we kept trying to find ways to do it, and it wasn't working. So finally, I was like, well, I guess I should probably do it. Put my name on it and pay for it. So, you know, like,
Wow.
so they didn't have to
Wow.
pay for the record.
Wow.
I don't want royalties on it. I wanted the NSO to have a record out in the
Wow.
wild. And, you know, like, despite, and we're not going to talk about politics, but despite the challenges of our getting that through the system at the Kennedy Center, because if they probably had dogs sniffing for the tapes around the Kennedy Center to destroy them, but it made it through its way and it made it out in the world. But we didn't have the luxury of promoting it. Couldn't pre-sell it, couldn't do anything like that. Just had to stay quiet and hope it came out the other end. And it's like, yeah, there it is. It came out. And despite that, we debuted at #2 on classical charts.
Wow.
Which is, and then that, thank you. And that was important for me for the National Symphony Orchestra because, I mean, I don't know every cat in that band, but I have my friends in there and I recognize almost all of them, and I know when they got a sub and I know when they've got a ringer, and they're a wonderful group, and so I did want to have them on the record. And they've played my music enough now to where they understand where I'm coming from. So
yeah, it really translates. It really translates in a beautiful way. I always feel like the human element of connection and relationship when it comes to recording just provides so much of the intangibles. I mean, particularly to me, like when you're singing and playing piano, like you can tell that investment that you talk about, that like having, like these players have skin in the game, like you're moving together, like in a way that really translates, you know.
Well, because when you're watching an orchestra, I mean, you've got a lot of people on stage, and they're not all playing all that much sometimes. You know, so some of the challenges too, and you can't tell them to sit up and pay attention, act like you like it. Some of them don't. Yeah. You know. Yeah. But if you can create an environment that's compelling enough, you can feel that while they're resting, they're still rooting for it. You know, you can kind of feel that.
That's special in an orchestra.
Yeah.
Like playing pop music.
And more now, because I've played with so many orchestras for so long now, and they know I come in peace at this point. You know, I come and make a big stand for the orchestra, and I basically beg them to come back to see something that's not me. You know, but I've been on boards of orchestras before and seen how they try to deal with updating the orchestra into the 21st century. And I just really feel like they need a hand from our side. Because otherwise they just can't take the assumption that, look, we can book. You know, these are bands I like. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but like Boys to Men, friends of those guys. Boys to Men, we can just put them on stage, great. But they're just going to show up with their band and play and stuff. And like what we really need is I would have a meeting with them and I would say, how do you guys feel about just gathering around one mic? And there's not going to be any kind of band. And we're going to do orchestrations from scratch. And when you hear like their incredible harmony, you know, their sense of harmony, you want to place some of that in the winds? Tell me. Like sing the parts and we'll sit down and do it. Then you would have a real, you'd have a real band. But as it is, the rock bookers and just the pop music bookers and managers, they treat the orchestra not that well. You know, and then the band just comes in, doesn't pay attention, because why should they? They got to catch a plane now to China to play or something. Like it's crazy, like what the schedules that we have. And you know, it ought to be put together. So my mission has been to put them together in a real way, so that they're actually doing things. And if no one else was going to make that record, then the reason I made this record was, okay, well, no one else is doing it. Fuck it, I'll do it.
Dude, it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
That's really beautiful. I love the moment. I forget which song it is, but there's a moment where you had the audience singing along. What somebody said? Not the same. Not the same. Yeah. The whole album, exactly. Can you talk a little bit about that experience of like involving the audience? Like, hey, you guys are going to be a part of this recording?
No. You know, the first time that song came up that people sang. It was right after 9/11, and I was touring my album that came out on 9/11. So my first solo record. My first solo record came out on 9/11, and I was unveiling it at national radio in Washington, D.C. So we were escorted out. We were driven by we had to take a detour because all of a sudden the Pentagon, the whole thing, like it was all unfolding.
Whoa.
Great drama that day,
Whoa.
and certainly what was happening that day was so much more important than anyone's fucking record. But at some point it was like, oh, I got like my album's not going to make it through this either. It did occur to me, and because you have a label and the label's paying some tour support. Yeah, those guys went home and I started playing solo piano. Wow. Because the album sold what my mother bought it. I mean, the album crept up after about a year and became something that actually was a thing. It's called Rock in the Suburbs, and it just became a thing. But when it was released to just horrible, worst day in American history. So, well, then the worst day in American history. Couple more since then, but yeah, so it's like I was out on tour, and the vibe was really unusual. I mean, like, wow. Most bands weren't touring. Yeah. I stayed out. I felt like my job was to, go in small spaces like this and let people will all forget about stuff. Yeah. And so I refused to cancel anything. I had to cancel the one gig on 9/11. 9/12, I was back at it. Wow. And it must have been maybe 2 or 3 weeks into it. Enough people had heard the record that came to my shows, and I was playing in the Midwest, and all of a sudden I hear 3-part harmony. The audience is singing utterly perfect 3-part harmony. I didn't tell anyone to do anything. In fact, I had famously, for most of my life, had been so allergic to like soul singers that were like, "Come on, sing! Come on, let me hear you sing!" I was like, "Motherfucker, I paid to watch you sing." Same. It's like just relax there. Don't do that to people. And so I was kind of slightly horrified to find that I had become, like audience participation guy. You need to look it up in the dictionary. Is that Ben Folds there? It's like I just became that guy, and it was born of the audience. And then some nights it wasn't very good. Like they were. So I was like, okay, look, it's trying to happen. I'm going to help it. Mm-hmm. People with the lowest voices take this, and I realized that there was a cadence and a method that would keep everyone on rhythm and aware of what was happening next. Yeah. And that became, I had 2 little things that I did like that. And I did that for years. Now, Jacob Collier's come along, and he's taken it to a level that is almost hard to understand. Yeah. How the fuck he does that. Oh, yeah. But I know where he got it. But what he's...
The name Bobby McFerrin comes to mind as well.
Exactly, yeah, totally. And I know that he listened to a lot of someone else too. But what Bobby McFerrin was and is amazing at is the ghost stuff that you didn't know was there. Like everyone is singing a harmony that he told them to do, and then he manipulates them into a harmony that no one told you to do. Yeah. To me, that's his advancement in that.
Wow. Totally.
And the reason that he's successful at it, and that I was successful at my 2 tricks, and that Jacob is successful at his, is because the understanding of how to, I don't want to say brainwash, but manipulate kindly the audience. It's a kind manipulation. If you tell everyone, you sing this, it's not going to happen. Yeah. It's like Jacob comes in and he's already clapping his hands at different things that he says. So when he does small cues that you don't realize, and then pretty soon he starts to create a harmonic world and you don't realize. And even if you say you're tone deaf, the audience is still not. He's created a harmonic world that they now understand how to do. What Bobby McFerrin has done so well is create that harmonic world and then have the audience do something that they didn't know they were going to do. That's the amazing thing about it. That's why he's a genius.
Yeah.
You know, but the reason that Jacob is a genius is because he starts with his ringmaster shit, like about
It's hacking your brain.
he's hacking your brain about 3 minutes before.
Yeah.
And I tried to understand it, but I knew he was doing it. I was like, wait a minute, he's messing with my brain. I know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so the audience participation thing happened, you know, naturally. And then I started to go, well, I need to help him. And I realized often I was train wrecking it by filling in too many blanks. So now I know if I don't say it in a certain order or do it in a certain way, it will all fall apart.
Yeah.
You know, I tried this on live TV one time on one of the talk shows in the early aughts, and it was so bad they didn't air the song.
Oh.
Because the audience wasn't my audience. They weren't there for that. They were like a typical audience. It's like, okay, you do this, you do that. And it's like, nothing.
Yeah.
And they had no idea what was going on.
Like, we came for a talk show.
They came to see me sing. They paid a ticket price. And
There you go. There you go.
And I was now that guy.
Yeah. You're Shaka Khan. Sorry.
Yeah.
I had an experience, guys. I had an experience. I was that guy that was like, I paid to see you sing.
Would she point at you? Like, sing.
Yeah, it's like, I'm every...
It's fun when an audience sings with an artist, but it is a thing, isn't it? It's like you have to have a relationship,
yes,
you know, with it. And just like the orchestra, I'll tie it back to that. It's always human beings in a place, and the audience. And this is actually a beef I've got with some of the kids these days. So much of their social feed is them with their audience in the background to show how many people like them, and I know that works to sell. But I feel like the audience isn't there as a prop either.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I kind of feel like I don't know. It's not my biggest beef, but it does occur to me sometimes when I see that. I'm like, wait a minute, you're playing a festival, and you're not the headliner, and it's just showing a whole bunch of people in the audience who didn't sign a release to sell your record.
Yeah.
It feels a little naughty to me. I feel like you have to earn that.
I feel it. I mean, like, it feels a little like, to me, I feel like the relationship, there's a sacredness to it, I think, as a performer, like whether they're involved or whether it's like going this way, there's a circular element, and I think it just deserves like maybe a little more attention than like becoming transactional in that way.
Yeah. Well, I feel the same way about light show. I like an early Black Sabbath light show.
Yeah.
It's just two cans and that's it, because that doesn't elevate. That elevates you just enough to so you're respected that you're the one that's there to sing, but it doesn't uplift you to the point where you're somehow different from everyone else. When I see a show, I feel a little weird seeing like just all the laser shit. You know?
Yeah. So I mean, going back to like the actual capturing of the. Go ahead.
No, I'm coming back to the orchestra.
But about the album, Ben. The album.
Focus.
No. Freedom.
Yes, about the album.
Yeah. So when you talk about these moments of audience interaction, can you talk a little bit about the engineer that I've heard you reference before, like in that piece of just capturing everything so magically, like when the audience does come in, it's really, it feels really balanced and like it's been thoughtfully captured.
Oh yeah. You know, the main engineer on this record was David Boucher. Does anyone know who David is? David Boucher. He's incredible. He does. He's probably recorded more orchestras than anyone alive, simply because he does so much of the cinema stuff. And think of that as you like. The truth is, he records these usually with 3 mics.
No way.
Yeah. So when you're seeing DreamWorks movies and stuff, he has the option of using some other stuff, which sometimes he does, but he leans into the tree, as we call it, which is the Deca tree, which is 3 microphones. And he just knows he knows what it is and knows how to make it great.
3 extremely well-placed microphones.
Yeah, so this guy's kind of a genius. I asked him what he did on my piano. I was really happy with the piano on the National Symphony Orchestra record. And,
Sounds gorgeous. Super balanced.
well, I was asking. I was like, what did you, because musicians in modern era, we tend to like, what did you put it through and what did you do to it?
Yeah.
And it's like we're all like that. We're all guilty of that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what'd you put that through? What'd you
Yeah.
do to it? What
Yeah.
plug-in you got on that?
Yeah,
And-
this sounds great. Why? What does it run it through? Is that
Yeah.
is it multi-band compression? What is it?
Exactly, but in this case, it's one of those times where he's like, "What do you mean?" It's like, well, "What'd you do to it?" He says, "Nothing." It's
Wow.
like that's the way you played it.
Wow.
I was like, "Yeah, but you did something to it." He said, well, I mean, he goes, "I just put it in there the way you played it." Like he wasn't even going to think about going there. I said, "Well, just tell me this: did you compress it or anything?" He's like, "No."
Wow.
I was utterly uncompressed with that whole big orchestra. He goes, "Yeah, you do the dynamics. Why would I need to do that?" If you're a musician or a recording engineer of any kind, that's actually pretty amazing,
Yeah. Yes,
because it still sounds competitive, and it made me rethink it. But he's been like for decades. He's been Randy Newman's recordist for all the
Wow.
all the orchestra stuff that Randy does, and all the film stuff that he does, and otherwise he's the main guy, and everything else. We were on a conference call with the NSO engineers, and me and the NSO engineers were kind of being jackasses. Like we were saying, well, look, we don't want that kind of cinema sound. And he's like, look, as the guy who's made almost all of the cinema sound, I want to tell you that I just use 3 mics, so I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, you must be talking about trailers. Because if you're talking about trailer music, that's some other son of a bitch. But that's...
No way.
That's not me, and I think we both sat down and slumped into our seats. But he made I heard the roughs, and the roughs are pretty good.
Yeah.
And then he sent me the mix, and I was blown away.
Wow.
I think that record is now I'm a big turntable freak.
Mm-hmm.
My house is always going to be life support system for a bunch of turntables. Mm-hmm. And when I'm on tour, all I'm doing is reading about how I can replace an idler wheel or something on a turntable.
Cool.
And I swear, now my test record would be, I never have said this before, my own record. It would be the NSO record.
Wow.
Because the way he's placed the vocal in there and the way he made the piano sound, I can tell what my system sounds like.
Yeah.
The rest of my records I wouldn't use as that. But just this and a Katie Lang record, and I'm finished.
Wow.
You
Wow.
can set your stereo up. I think did she put the 5 minutes sign?
I didn't see it. I was.
Did she get? Do
Did
it
she?
again.
Did she?
Check that.
Did she do a thing?
Yeah, she
Oh,
did it. Yeah,
I thought there was gonna. It was like the 5-minute thing on.
she
the
did
thing.
that.
Oh, you
We
did
were
it.
just-
Oh, give it up for Gabby, guys. Giving signals that musicians have ignored for minutes. My apologies. Well, in that case, maybe this is a good time to open it up for some questions. If anyone wants to raise their hands, we can get a mic to you. Got someone over here. Oh, someone's got it over there.
All right, maybe now. All right. A couple weeks ago, you wrote a post about your first album.
Yeah.
And 30 years later, and you were quite critical of it. And I think maybe some of us will agree. I think it sounds perfect, but you mentioned.
Thank you.
We mentioned the tempos being all over the place. For someone who's not a musician, you were specifically critical about your affectations. Mm-hmm. What are affectations?
Well, let me say first of all that I think it's I may be critical of it, but just don't say this outside of these walls. I think it's one of the best records I've ever heard. I love that record. I do. I think it's a great record because I was there mostly and was hearing something I'd never heard come out of speakers before. And that had never happened for me before. I had always listened, and you should listen to the advice of your elders, but I had listened to advice, and I had gone in the studio with a very careful state of mind because it's the studio. I've just got a couple minutes in here. Like, let's do this. We're in because this is the '90s, so getting in the studio is a big deal.
Yeah.
And we made a record, and it was terrible. And we shelved it.
Whoa.
And it was with a really great producer, too.
Wow.
And we spent the whole budget, which was only $14,000, but we spent that budget on that record. And then we had a little shot to go in and make what we wanted to for $3,000 in a really shitty little studio. And we just went for it. What I learned about recording is that if you just do what the hell you want to hear and just with force, just absolutely be yourself, everyone else can go to hell. Just do what you're doing. And then listen to the speakers and go, I think I can do more of that. I knew when we were making that record that it was actually a great record, and I still think it is. I wasn't really being critical of it. I was just listening to it, and some people read it that way, but others, I think, didn't. And that's the writers. That's my fault for sounding like that. But I was just saying, look, with 58-year-old ear who's been in the business now a long time, has made a lot of things. Here's what I hear these kids are doing. So I was just being kind of distant about it, and what I heard, the only thing that I had a real problem with was that, the same thing as you would have a problem with if you looked at pictures of yourself in a sort of an embarrassing moment when you're 20-something and you're trying to be cool. And you look at that and go, oof, why did I do that? Or something. You're just making some fucking face. I felt like I needed to do that, like almost on a timer. It's like I'd be playing music, and then I go, oh, I gotta be cool, yeah! And I don't even know what that was. I don't know what that was. It was just, and those were times where I think me and the band were trying to fit in.
Yeah.
Like no one cared, and everything was so snarky, but really we were like three goofballs making a Broadway record that had fuzz bass on it, So that's what I love about the record, and what I don't like about the affectations are the times when you're not being yourself and you're being someone else, and even the thought of what I might have thought that person I was being was. Wasn't even doing that. It just looked stupid, And the funny thing is the producer and the drummer knew it. They realized
Wow.
that was unnecessary. But me and the bass player were full clown. We went full clown but on a timer. It's like we're playing music. Oh, it's been like 3.5 minutes since we wee, and then back to it. But I think the record is great, and it stands out in its era as being. It's like a pirate ship with a white flag
Totally.
over it in the middle of the ocean. No one made
Totally.
a record like that. Yeah.
Totally. Let's get another one. I think Gabby's.
Go for it.
Oh, she got it.
Hi, Ben. I'm
Hello.
a huge fan. Can
Thank
you
you.
tell me the backstory on your song, The Luckiest?
It's really pretty unsexy. There was a movie that I really liked called Clueless, and then Fast Times at Ridgemont High. They were made by a filmmaker that made then this movie called Loser. And Loser didn't do that well, but Amy Heckerling was her name, and she wanted me to do a really important song in the movie Loser, and it was two nerds who had been kind of being nerds the whole time, but then they connected at the end, and they became a nerd couple, and they consummated it with the longest, most awkward kiss you've ever seen in cinema. And it was like it never cut. It was a camera around, and these two nerds making out. And I just thought, that is so bold. And they had temp music in it, which was horrible. So I quickly turned that off. It was VHS time. And, so I put the VHS in, and I turned that shitty music off. And I listened to something was compelling to me about it. And I sat there and I wrote the song mostly to that scene.
Wow.
And, and I was thinking about, like I always do, like I just did a bunch of Charlie Brown stuff. It was easy for me to do the Snoopy Charlie Brown stuff because I can get into Charlie Brown's head. Like I feel like Charlie Brown. So being able to be him wasn't hard. And being able to be this nerd who just fell over himself the entire movie I just had to write about myself.
Wow.
So I just thought, he never gets anything right the first time. That's it. And I came up on the chorus and I was like, I am. Because I wanted it to run. It was going to run and then through the credits, and I wanted it to turn into Pachelbel's Canon in D. So I wanted it to then give you the impression that they were lived happily ever after and were married, right? And so I had it all worked out, and it was like I am, and I had the chords to Pachelbel's Canon in there, and I was like, I don't know what I am. What am I? I am I've never done this before, but I sat up all night with a notebook, and I was like, I am this, I am that. Terrible stuff. I think the worst was I am not like the other guys. I mean, just really horrible stuff. And then I was like, I gotta go to bed. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
The luckiest. That's what I am. I'm the luckiest. And then I signed off on it. I turned it in to the movie people, and they tested it in front of an audience, and the whole scene got voted out of the movie. Whole fucking scene gone. I was like, oh my God, I feel like that was really good because I wanted to write, because Michael Stipe said never write a love song. He said he'd never write a love song and no one should ever write a love song again. And he said that in an interview, and Michael probably does not remember he said that, but a little teen, such as myself, read it in some magazine and was like, Got it. Mike Stipe said, no love songs. And so I went about my life thinking I would never write one of those. And then my rebellious thing was kind of like, Michael Stipe, I'm going to write a love song. And put it in this movie. And then without the movie as the excuse anymore, I was sitting on a song and was like, am I going to put this on a record? This is a love song. What if Stipe hears it? And so I sat on it for a little while. And then the next door neighbors, old couple in their 90s, the old fellow died, and took him out the front and everything. We knew what happened. And then his wife literally died the next day. And I thought, that's the way you write a love story. So I changed out and I put that verse in because I thought, I can write a love story in this era as long as somebody dies. But someone's got to die.
Somebody got to die.
But no, it is like a life and death thing. Love stories are always so young, and to make it be about the end game where you don't even want to live anymore. I mean, I still kind of get emotional thinking about that happening, and it being in the song. It's like I feel like I'm really glad that it got voted out of the movie because the last verse wasn't like that.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, I'm going to put it on Rockin' the Suburbs, and it's going to be the last song on there. And then a few people, involved with the record begged me not to because it was cheesy. And I was like, I don't care. Put it on as cheesy. Fuck it. I just on there. So that's the story behind it. Yeah.
Wow. This cat's good. I gotta say real quick, the way that you told that story just now and took us all down the path of the movie to find out that that's not even the story, really put me in mind of the way you wrote Christine from the 7th grade.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It's the songwriter.
It's it starts off like I saw the emails and I didn't, they come every once a year. It's like, man, this is a nostalgic song. What is this about? And then by the verse 2, you get to like, wait, we went to the same high school. I know you went to a good school. Why are you believing all these conspiracy theories? What the fuck, Christine? It's like, I felt like you just like, that's your personality, like your witty humor.
You didn't know you were going to open her Facebook page.
Exactly. I had no idea from the first verse.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but that's what I love about stories and songs, like I was saying there. Yeah.
You were saying somebody had a...
Yeah, he's been trying. I just wanted to make sure that we had equal...
Thanks.
So my dad was telling me he got to see you in, what was it, 97? In University of Delaware, and he told me that you played...
Were you at school?
I went to Maryland.
Okay.
I drove to Delaware.
Oh, awesome.
He told me that he got to see you play the piano with your stool. And I've seen videos, obviously I wasn't live then, of you tossing your stool on the piano. So
Why-
is that
why you-
something you do?
I used to throw the first. I never liked sitting on the benches. I liked to sit on a drum stool because I'm a drummer, and that made me happier. So I always used to drum a drum stool when I was playing with back when I used to play with rock bands. And then I started realizing if they're light enough, you can throw them. And so my first deal, product deal, was with CB700 because they gave me cheap seats to throw at the piano. So we had a whole truck full of these, and I would throw them from whatever distance, and just kept on getting better at chucking the stool at the piano. At one point, we were on Lollapalooza. And I was like, well, it's Lollapalooza. What's a show if you don't climb up the speaker stack? So I climbed up the speaker stack, and I chucked the stool from I don't know how far. It went perfectly, nailed the piano, and MTV happened to be there, and they filmed that. So the music news for like a year on MTV would go, MTV Music News, you heard it first. I was like, it was my greatest achievement. Everyone's forgotten that. Yeah.
Well, I feel like that might be a nice natural transition into,
Stool
Is there
tossing.
a stool over there? There's a stool over there? You want to?
Yeah, and other monkey business.
Finn Folds, everybody.
Louis Cato. Thanks a lot for that. I really appreciate it.